Horoscope for April 26, 2021. Like this video and write a comment before watching. It helps create new videos every day. Aries. The coming months are excellent for reworking career and planning initiatives, doing the research and legwork, and refining projects. Dear Aries, Pluto begins its yearly retrograde cycle today, and some of your long-term career goals may be up for review during this period that lasts until October 6th. Facing up to truths about the past and a closer look at financial, career, life path, or intimacy matters can be part of the picture, while pressures and fears can magnify just for a few days. The retrograde cycle itself helps you detach and observe, giving you a clearer perspective. You're more able to see areas where you've been over-attached, worried, obsessed, or a bit paranoid. There can be some tension in spots today, as what you think you should do and what you want to do seem to be two very different things. Something can touch a nerve. Ultimately, it can lead to growth. So aim to find the lesson in whatever goes down now. Avoid rushing through something that would do best with a slower, more measured approach. Taurus. Pluto begins its yearly retrograde cycle today. Dear Taurus, in partnerships or studies may require more thought or strategy in the coming months. It's an excellent period for backing off a situation just a little so that you can gain perspective and see where you've been too attached, controlling, or tense. You could be more reflective with your personal belief systems or general outlook regarding your future. You may be reassessing, observing, and gaining a new vision of a close relationship, publishing project, educational path, or belief system during the coming 5+ months. With a Mercury-Mars minor challenge today, watch for impatient purchases, moves, and communications. As well, it can be all too easy to hurt someone's feelings. For example, you might intellectualize something that another person takes to heart. You can be excited about new ideas, but the tricky part is following through. Gemini. Pluto turns retrograde today. Dear Gemini, and until October 6th, you benefit from a review or reassessment of wellness programs, routines, work projects, debts, and intimate relationships. If the give and take or trust in a key relationship has fallen out of balance, you'll feel it more intensely now. Health and work matters, especially related to issues of control or fear, can also come into sharper focus with this shift. As the retrograde progresses, you might find that you're detaching just enough to make improvements. The station occurring today can magnify problem areas, but the retrograde cycle itself is far more natural and comfortable. Today, aim to channel excess energies into a business project or some other practical endeavor that will truly make life easier. But watch for impatience and impulsiveness. You can feel a great urge to get things done, but you might think you're required to move far more quickly than is truly needed. Because of pressures in your mindset, you may be a little stern in your communications. Cancer. Pluto begins its yearly retrograde cycle today. Dear Cancer, while the shift itself can feel a bit heavy and problem areas can feel magnified, the cycle itself tends to help ease some pressure. Areas most affected for you are one-on-one relationships, creative projects, children, or romance. This retrograde, lasting until October 6th, can prompt the need to review your feelings. There is a tendency to cling to old patterns or examine the past instead of braving new territory. Aim to detach yourself a little from matters to gain a clearer, more objective perspective. This process helps you identify areas where you've been pushing too hard or where you've been too attached for your own good. Today's energies can be tense in spots, and it's best to keep in mind that there can be a mismatch between what you think and what you do, which can give off all the wrong signals. To avoid getting yourself into a tricky situation, make sure you know what you want to convey before communicating too quickly. Leo. Today's energies can be motivating or just a little irritating, producing some crankiness in spots. Dear Leo, a Mercury-Mars minor challenge suggests the possibility of too direct conversations. There can be some impatience or eagerness that can lead to uncomfortable situations. Your focus will return eventually, and trying to push too hard could leave you behind even further, making it best to muster up patience. Pluto begins its yearly retrograde cycle today, and problem areas can magnify with the shift, likely related to work, routines, health, family, and home. Even so, as you grow accustomed to this energy, you're in a brilliant position to review and reassess these matters as you gain perspective. You might more clearly see where you've been over-attached or where you've put too much pressure on yourself. Along these lines, you take on a more detached, observational role in these areas of life until October 6th. Virgo. Pluto begins its yearly retrograde cycle today. Dear Virgo, with the shift today, there can be a temporary magnification of problems, complications, and fears related to those areas of your chart strongly influenced by Pluto. Learning, connecting, romance, creativity, recreation, communications, and transportation. Pressures will subside going forward. And in fact, you'll get to the point where you're significantly detached enough to gain a better perspective on these things. This way, you can more clearly see where fear and over-attachment may have been working against you. This powerful period for self-knowledge lasts until October 6th this year. A Mercury-Mars aspect today can point to eagerness that may border on impatience. Be especially mindful of how you express yourself, particularly with friends or with an audience, as you may come across quite curtly without meaning to. It's a good idea to check that you're clear on what you want to convey. Libra. You're craving a little more comfort and predictability than usual today. Dear Libra, however, your interactions can be a little tricky as there is a tendency to shoot from the hip with observations and criticisms. For best results, aim to think before communicating and consider that your actions and thoughts may not be in sync with a Mercury-Mars aspect in play. It's all too easy to become frustrated or aggravated by minor problems and flaws quickly. Look for an anchor, whether it's a person, place, focal point, or a favorite activity. Also today, Pluto begins its retrograde cycle that lasts a little over 5 months until October 6th. In the months ahead, you're in the position to review, reassess, and gain a new perspective about areas of your chart strongly influenced by Pluto. Finances. Matters related to security and comfort, family, and home or domestic life. Some related plans may need some adjustment, but you might find it easier to detach from some pressures and fears in these areas. Right now, however, you may be feeling these pressures more intensely as the shift occurs. Keep in mind that you'll find this process far more comfortable as you grow more accustomed to this energy. Scorpio. Pluto begins its retrograde cycle today. Dear Scorpio, which lasts over 5 months, putting you in a more reflective frame of mind. It's a great time for searching deep within for answers. Looking to the past is a necessary process that can help you see what things in your life need to change. It's also a time to take a break from pushing yourself too hard mentally. Some projects may even seem to stall or may need some editing, adjustments, and refinements. The shift happening today can act to magnify fears and problem areas. Still, as you adjust to this shift, you'll find this cycle useful for self-understanding. There can be some trickiness with communications today. While enthusiastic about a project or personal interest, circumstances may take you on different paths. It may be that you can't focus or get completely comfortable, which disrupts your flow, and it's time to rethink your situation. Sagittarius. Pluto begins its yearly retrograde cycle today. Dear Sagittarius, this change of direction prompts you to review your financial affairs, attitude towards money and things, what and who you value, and self-worth. While fears or worries related to money insecurity can magnify as this shift happens, the retrograde cycle itself, lasting until October 6th, helps you gain perspective, with less pressure on you to control or micromanage your practical affairs. Your choices and decisions improve. Even so, it's important not to push matters that need to evolve in their own due time. Today, you might be anxious to put an idea into motion or take action, but it may be a little premature. Avoid pressuring or distracting yourself. Capricorn. Pluto begins its yearly retrograde cycle today. Dear Capricorn, affecting you a little more than others because Pluto is in your sign. As the shift occurs now, there can be some magnification of unresolved matters, fears, or compulsions. However, once you get beyond the shift, the retrograde cycle itself is excellent for detaching yourself from these things enough to see where you may have been overly worried or obsessing. Until October 6th, you're in a fine position to review and reassess your approach to self-starts, new beginnings, friendships, and group connections. If you've been over-controlling, you recognize this now and want to take some of the pressure off. Today, patience may be missing if your attention is divided. It can be challenging to settle your mind in spots, making it best to save important decision-making for a clearer time. Aquarius. Pluto begins its yearly retrograde today. Dear Aquarius, with the shift now, you might experience some intensifying fears, worries, or frustrations. However, these things should settle down nicely shortly. The retrograde lasts until October 6th, and it helps you observe and understand your attachments and fears. You may not have noticed how concerns, guilt, and control issues have been working against you. Now that you're making these associations, it's easier to work on healing and resolving problems. While you can experience quite a bit of eagerness to get things done today, particularly related to your work or health regimes, your mind is easily distracted, even if it's not the most productive of days on a mundane level. You may very well need to unwind a little to gather your strength for busier days to come. Pisces. Pluto begins its yearly retrograde cycle today. Dear Pisces, and certain long-term goals are up for revision over the coming months. Plans, obligations, and concerns regarding your social life, friendships, or happiness goals may have heavy energy hanging over them now during the shift. Still, things not only even out but begin to feel less pressured going forward. Giving special attention to your emotions and exercising patience can help you navigate this shift. This retrograde period lasts until October 6th, and it's powerful for taking a step back and examining your fears, resentments, and possible self-destructive tendencies so that you're not living on autopilot. It's a vital time for healing. Today, there can be some nervous energy to contend with as a Mercury-Mars connection draws attention to the differences between what you want and what you think. Aim to direct excess energy into a satisfying project as long as you can tame the tendency for your mind to wander. Be aware of a tendency to speak too soon or too quickly.